right, here we go. We're back for another episode of Connectable podcast. My co-host Deb is not here. That's okay because we have an awesome guest, a guy that I've podcasted with before, not on this podcast, but a guy that I really enjoy talking to. He is an entrepreneur, a business owner, influencer, and he would say a so-called washed-up athlete. Which, if you look at this man and if you follow him on social media, he's anything but a washed-up athlete. But we've got Cody Allen. What's going on, man?
What's up, man? How you been?
I'm good, man. Always excited to talk to you. We were joking. This is the third podcast that I have done, and you were kind enough to be a guest on this, man. And I really do enjoy talking to you because you have a wealth of knowledge and information and experience. So, we've always done the sports thing, which has been great, but I'm excited to kind of open it up a little bit more about life and just get a little bit broader as far as the topics.
Dude, I'm game for any podcast you have. You're always put on a good show and always the best questions. It's funny you say wash up athlete. Last time we talked, I wasn't like super deep into like I've always done rec sports and stuff, and obviously my time playing collegiate sports. But I started posting stuff on Instagram, and the flag football and softball community is like so gung ho about their stuff. Like the only videos that hit like hundreds of thousands of views are just people yelling at each other in like the this guy's wearing pants and slow pitch softball and whatever. So like now it's like, all right, well I'm just gonna keep posting that because that's what I get paid for, right? So it's like whatever the
For
views
sure.
do. So now if you go to my Instagram, it's like this guy's just a washed up athlete, but I'm still moving, man. I'm trying to do the whole reverse aging thing.
Dude, it's working. I wish I had some of that because and I have a ton of questions about what you're doing with social media and softball and football. But man, when I see you move, I'm like, if I was playing against you, especially in football, like I don't want to see. I know it's flag. I don't care. I don't want to see this dude running towards me. There's no way.
It's a lot of body moving. It's a lot of body just moving in mass in one direction.
It's a terrifying sight. So I feel for anybody who
Yeah.
you compete against. But like I said, man, you and I we've podcasted a few times. And usually I kind of explain how we're connected because it's called Connectable. And I think it was honestly just through social media. I think,
Right.
you're connected to so many people that we know. And I think in the early days of my podcasting, I want to say, if I kind of, rack my brain and try to think about where that first connection was, it had to have been Title Boxing. Blake
Yep.
Kidwell, I think that you were featured in some of their stuff. And I think we started following you from there. So it really was a social media connection. And then obviously you were kind enough to be on the podcast because of your sports background and all that. So it's been cool getting to kind of know you through the podcast over the last couple of years. But because you've been on the show a little bit, I don't want to make this awkward right off the bat, but I do have to ask, man, we've been following you for a few years now. And I feel like when we first started following you, your shirts were nowhere to be found. And now I feel like you wear a lot more shirts, dude. And I'm like, something has changed over the years. You're still a beast of an athlete, but I feel like if you had a shirt on back in the day, I'm like, this, I was shocked. Now, if it's completely changed, you're always wearing shirts. Like, what's the deal?
Uh, Couple things. Number one, I was shirtless right before this. I put on a shirt for your
There we go.
podcast.
I'm not wrong, guys.
Um, Number two, I'm about to get married, so it's like I don't need to be shirtless all over social media. But no, I still am. I still am shirtless all over the place. It's just softball. You gotta wear a shirt when you play softball. I would and would love to play softball shirtless. And then flag football. I gotta wear a shirt because I have so many scrapes and scars from diving for the ball and turf burn and whatnot. But I'll bring it back. I'll bring it back next tournament. Some of the USA flag tournaments they don't allow it. The all softball they don't allow it. You have to have like a jersey. But we have championships coming up next Sunday, so maybe I'll pop the top for that one for flag football.
Man, the fact that you know the rules and regulations about going shirtless right off the top of your head it proves my
Oh,
point. Like you do the
for
shirtless thing a
sure.
lot. My wife asked me not to go shirtless on social media, not because of jealousy, just more embarrassment. She's like, I can't have people out out here knowing this is what I'm married to.
Oh man, no. I think so. I had a flag football tournament in San Antonio 3 weeks ago now, and
Okay.
our shirts like have this V, and then obviously covers up here, doesn't cover your arms. And like I hate tan lines. I am like so anti like farmer's tan line. Like I think if you have a farmer's tan line, then it's just like it's the worst thing. I used to have the worst tan lines like back of my neck, back of my knees from like football, right?
Sure.
And so now any chance I get, I am shirtless outside. So like right now, I have a pretty decent tan line on my neck from that flag tournament because we're out in San Antonio. It was like 101 degrees. It was super humid. It was miserable.
Yeah.
I was one of those guys like a couple of years ago that was like, you know what? Like maybe I'm just gonna go start my business in Texas. Like, oh yeah, I have the barbecue business and stuff. Like that's my thing, right? I went out to San Antonio and I was like, I'll never leave California. Like I can't do it. The humidity. I am not a humidity guy. Like I love
Yeah.
dry heat. It'll hit 115 in Sac, and people will complain. I'll be outside running. I love the dry heat. But
I'm with you.
anyway, I got the tan line in San Antonio, so now I'm just trying to cook that off. I'm running routes tomorrow, so that'll be shirtless for sure.
There you go. No, I'm with you, man. I played baseball my whole life. And so I'm used to the farmer's tan but I had a coach one
Yeah.
time. He's like, if I see you guys roll up your sleeves, he's like, we're doing polls, we're doing laps.
Too flashy. Yeah, exactly.
He's like, you're a ball player. This is what you're supposed to have. So you just got to suck it up and deal with it. He's like, the rest of the summer is yours to fix that. But until then, you got to, just deal with the tan line. So I'm with you, man. Now it's
It's
like summertime
miserable,
for me.
man.
It is tank tops a lot. You know what I mean? I can deal with the shoulder
Right.
thing. The arms, though, it really bugs me now. But anyway,
Yeah.
we didn't come on this podcast to talk about your. I just had to mention it. I feel like
Okay.
the aesthetic of your social media has changed a little bit over the years, so I felt like it needed to be addressed, man.
Of
Um,
course.
but so a couple of things you mentioned though that I wanted to talk about, and I don't think we've ever talked about this, but I see it quite a bit since following you. The barbecue business. I don't want to mispronounce the
Yeah.
name. I know how to spell it, but I don't want to mispronounce the name of the
Cuso.
knives.
Cuso.
Cuso. How'd you get involved in that?
So my buddy Jack, he is the brand Chef Cuso. Um, his story is his, and he can talk about it. He's been grilling on like social media since he was 12 for like maybe 5, 6 years now, 7 years. Um, and long story short, his fiance is from Folsom. He's from Rochester, New York, which is upstate New York, about an hour outside Buffalo. He went to SLO for school. Met his fiance there, about to be his wife in a couple weeks, and they were living in Rockland. In 2021, I was like, I followed him because I don't know how I stumbled across his page, and he had posted a grilling video and it said like Rockland, California, back when like it was like the location, you know. I was living in
Sure.
Rockland at the time, and I think I commented on his video. I was like, dude, like if you're ever trying to grill, let me know. And I think that he had like commented back, gone on my Instagram, saw the shirtless workout guy, and he commented and he was like, dude, if all the gyms are closed, he was going to CalFit at the time.
Yeah.
He's like, if you ever want to work out, like, let's work out together. Cause I had a garage gym. So I was like, fuck yeah, man, come over. Like,
Yeah.
let just come hang out. Just guys being dudes. And so he, he was, the story goes like, he's like, I have an extra grill at my house if you want it. Like, just like total, like young guys just vibing out. I was like, all right, cool. So I went over his house, met him for the first time ever. He gave me a grill. And
Wow.
then next day he came over because it was obviously given to him. He came over. We started working out. We worked out literally like every day for over a year. He was living here. His brand, Chef Cuso, has just continued to grow. It's crazy now, but at the time it was still growing. I remember when he signed his first like year long deal. We were in my garage. Like Docu signed it in my garage. It was kind of crazy. We're like, they're
Wow.
gonna pay you how much? uh, And I told him, I was like, hey, man, like I have my marketing agency. You see the stuff that I kind of work on because obviously you talk about work when you're together. Um, I was like, if you ever want to start your own brand that is not pushing products for somebody else, I was like, let's partner up on it. Obviously, it's not something that, like, as he has been ascending as a brand himself, he gets hit up by everybody. Everybody's trying to put their hands kind of like in his pockets and ride his coattails to the top. And so, like, there was a solid, like, I don't know, like 8 months before we ever even had this conversation because everybody else is probably like soliciting him for all these things, you know? And he was my friend first before business
Sure.
partner. And so we, he was like, well, I tried starting a company called Cuso Cuts about a year ago. All we did was drop ship meat. He was like, it was a nightmare. He's like, we'd have so many returns because people would get A5 Wagyu drop shipped to their house and then they'd leave it outside all day and then it'd defrost and then it'd be rotten meat and all the things, you know? And so it wasn't a viable business. It was like a cool little thing. He's like, we could start that up again. So we rebranded, revamped Cuso Cuts, and slowly started turning it into what it is today. We started out with knives because we're like, all right, like cool chef knives, like that's just like a flex, we called it, right?
Yeah.
Um, so we're like, we're gonna make Japanese steel Damascus chef knives. Went through that process. Black Friday of 2021, we started we had our first day of selling. I told Jack, I was like, I'll just ship all the stuff from my house. I had just moved to Lincoln, where I'm at now, and so I had all these knives at my house, and we had all these orders come in, and I got surgery December 1st. So like literally like a few days after we started selling, I had hernia surgery, and we had all these orders flood in, and I was like, dude, I am not equipped to be going back and forth to the post office, like doing all these orders and whatever. So we got a warehouse and a 3PL and kind of grew from there. We've since expanded to seasonings. We have a line of 12 different seasonings. We just launched sauces like a week ago, not even a week ago,
Yeah.
last Friday. Yeah, last Friday we launched sauces.
Jeez, that's crazy.
And then we're going to just continue to go on that route, man. It's been cool. We are nationwide in Canada and a store called Sobeys. It's like the owner of like Safeway.
Sure.
Um, it's super awesome. I've never been in the e-commerce space. It was something that I always wanted to do. I always wanted to have like a physical product for myself, and this has been cool. Jack and I love and hate every minute of it.
Yeah. No, well, and I don't know anything about the business world or starting a business or running a business, anything like that. But that seems like a really quick turnaround from where you guys started to where you guys are at now, and the amount of things. I mean, I know nothing about knives. I love cooking. I love grilling, but I imagine the process of developing and branding a knife is a lengthy process.
Yeah, so we've had on our knives alone, we've had five different versions, right? So we go through like iterations each time, making it
Sure.
better, getting feedback from customers, consumers, because like we're not chefs, right? We're dudes
Sure.
who love to grill, and that's our
Sure.
that's our target demographic. Like there are knife companies that sell $1,500 knives to chefs and $3,000 knives to chefs, and that's great. You know, that's just not our market. We're just like it's actually like our tagline is not a chef, and so like on
I
our
like that.
website it said I'm not a chef, but I am a dad, an engineer, HR consultant, a social media manager, an influencer. I'm all these things, but I'm not a chef, right? Um, and So with the knives, we've been selling this knife that we have now. It's called our executive knife for the over the last year, like the last maybe like 2 years now. This version of the knife we love. It's like our sweet spot. The
Yeah.
seasonings, um, we came out with an original version of the seasoning. So we had one called Dirt, and that stemmed from to go back to your point. You asked like how do you get from like point A to where we are right now, or
Yeah.
ascend at the rate that we have. It is truly because Jack's brand. Jack has grown, Chef Cuso rather, has grown at like a crazy rate. So the business follows him. Like if right here is Chef Cuso and Cuso Cuts is right here, we've grown incrementally with him. We would like to be where the brand is more recognizable than Chef Cuso. Right now, Chef Cuso is more recognizable than the brand. Once we flip that, that's when we know that we can eventually detach Chef Cuso from said brand, right? I want more
Sure.
people to be walking into a store and asking about like, oh, what's Cuso Cuts? You know? Or I've seen
Sure.
Cuso Cuts, like who's this Chef Cuso guy? Right now, they see Chef Cuso and they're like, oh, I want Chef Cuso's seasonings, which are Cuso Cuts. But we started out with seasonings. Um, Jack made a video, like one of his first viral videos, that it was a tomahawk steak, and he had a blackened charcoal rub on it. And a bunch of people started commenting on it, and they're like, "Did you drop it in dirt? Is it covered in dirt?" And all these sort of things. A bunch of dirt, 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 right? Like Chef Cuso eats dirt.
Yeah.
Um, and so we were like, our first seasoning needs to be dirt, and so we made it activated
Yeah.
charcoal, rosemary, thyme, garlic, salt, pepper seasoning. It's called dirt. It's our far and away, it sells 3 times faster than any other seasoning we have. It's probably the best tasting. I think it's the best tasting for sure. That's because I eat a lot of steak. It's
Sure.
best on like red meat. But from a marketing standpoint, people just love to like have dirt. Like it's what we call our anchor product. It's tied to every other product that we want to sell. If we want to sell like a pack of seasonings, it's dirt and this. So started with a few different seasonings, and we're like, all right, well, how do we? There's different levels of your category, right? And there's like your entry level, very cheap, middle level, your high, more expensive, um, high quality ones. Like we want to be a high quality seasoning. We want to be branded appropriately, and then we also want to have the ingredients just justify the price point. So over the last year, we've transitioned to just using all natural ingredients, right? You don't have
Hmm.
your silicone dioxide for anti-sticking. You don't have your other fillers. We've actually removed all seed oils from our seasonings, and substituted with like olive oil and things of that nature. Um, because as Americans, sort of sell most of our products, become more health conscious. We want to be the front runners, the leaders in that in our space, right? A lot
Sure.
of times, right now, people are picking more healthy food options just in general. But when you think about like, the things that you put on your food, um, those can have either a positive or negative effect on like your gut biome and things of that nature. So we wanted to make sure that what we're doing aligns with kind of what our cause is, and that's to and our goals as a company is to make healthy eating not just affordable but or accessible rather, but kind of on the forefront of who we are as a brand.
That's awesome. And that's a, obviously, again, I keep saying it, but the show's called Connectable. And I think that's a great way to connect with people, right? Is as more people are trying to get more health conscious and watch what they're eating and look at the ingredients, having a, not just a product, but a fun product called Dirt has a fun name. It's fun to talk to people. And it's like, you go to a barbecue and like, what's the rub? It's dirt. Like, what? Well, and let me explain. You tell them the whole story.
Right.
Just so many pieces of it connect with people that you guys are selling to. I think it's a great thing. And I think, and because you've started so many different things. I think for most brands, or any brand, in my opinion at least, to be truly successful, I think it has to match the vision and the purpose, behind like the heart of the owners, right? Like if you're just doing it saying, "Hey, we're just doing this thing to make money," it could work. But I think the ones that are truly
Right.
successful match the heart and the vision for the owners.
With so many different businesses, because like I have the marketing agency, so all I do is talk to business owners all day basically. I hear their wants, needs, dreams. The variables that I find that uh, matter the most and have the most statistical relevance towards like success. And when I mean success, I mean there's different levels of that, but there's long term success. Really, what we're looking at sustainability, because I've had what I call revenue generating vehicles in my life. Right, those
Okay.
are well, a lot of time people like to call them businesses, but they're not businesses. They might have an LLC, but really they are just something to make you some money. There's not sustainability in it because you haven't built the infrastructure for such, and there isn't any differentiating factor, right? Like take like solar for example. Like you can find a solar salesman or a solar power company any which way you look right now. Take like refi, mortgage brokers, right? Like what makes you different? So at the end of the day, that's just a revenue generating vehicle until you build out infrastructure, right? So people like to do business and buy things from people that they like now and today in 2024. Um,
Sure.
my partner Jack, like Jack connects with his audience so well. I think that you have to have a strong community now to have any sort of business. If you're a massage therapist, a podcaster, an e-commerce business, all the way up to like a roofing business, right? Like people have to want to like you and want to really invest in you as a company because there is a replacement, right? There's a million roofing contractors, there's a million massage therapists. There's so many podcasts. Why listen to yours? Um, we were just out, and we identify people in this space that do the same. We were just out in Nashville last week, um, shooting some content and connecting with Bussin' with the Boys. They are a
Yeah.
Barstool podcast. Yeah. Jack just posted the video today that we shot with them. And those guys couldn't be more dialed in with and have a loyal following, right?
Oh, for sure.
Um, and they're awesome. It is exactly who our demographic is. Like we
Sure.
literally went over to Taylor's house, grilled all day, played NCAA football after, hung out with dads, and did funny videos, and that is who our demographic is. Granted, Taylor and Will can't really barbecue or cook, and that's kind of alarming. But I guess when you have a great partner
Sure.
to make all your food for you, it doesn't really matter.
There you go. As long as someone can in the house.
Exactly, they're not missing any meals.
No, a couple of big boys.
Right.
No, that's awesome, man. Well, that's first of all, it sounds like an awesome thing to be a part of. The
Oh,
doing
for sure.
creating content with those guys, because yeah, I mean, what they're doing is incredible, and all of the podcasts and the content that they create, it's pretty impressive. And I completely agree about the community side of things. It does feel like something that you have to have, and not just a bunch of people that follow you, but people that you actually connect with. And I wanted to ask you, because like I said at the beginning, it was kind of a joke, but not really. Like if you look at our social media, our Instagram page, and you see who we're connected with that's similar to you, there's so many different people. And there's so many people that we've had on the show, so many people that we just know that haven't been on the show. And I feel, and I say this somewhat jokingly, I feel like just a random week, I could see your face pop up on a random ad. I've seen you pop up on the Americana, Kindly
Right.
Kimberly's page with
Yeah.
her pickleball brand. I've seen you title boxing. I just see you everywhere. And to me, it seems like you have a pretty strong sense of community, at least, especially here in Sacramento. And I know it extends beyond that, but is that something that is it just naturally something that you do because of your personality? Are you just geared towards connecting with community, or is it something that you do intentionally because you understand the importance of it, or is it maybe a little bit of both?
So like for me, um, I am actually like a big introvert. Like I could and will stay inside. I like to do a lot of things outside, like when it comes to sports and sporting events. But like, dude, I could not see like some of my closest friends I don't see very often. Right? We all
Hmm,
get older, we get busier.
sure.
My fiance is 7 months pregnant. Most of my friends have kids.
Congrats on that, by
Um,
the way.
Thank you. um, and so when I say younger, um, I was always doing the most. I was always going out and well, early in my mid 20s, I was going out a ton. And something that I always tried to do though was hold myself in a manner that was one respectable, or people would view me as like a hey, this guy's like kind of sharp. Like I should connect with him in some capacity. I was never that just drunk idiot going around.
Sure.
Um, I'm sure I had my moments in my 20s. What am I to say? But as it ushered into my later 20s, I found that a lot of those connections, while they might have been a step ahead or a step above rather than those like random going out connections, they weren't deep and in turn valuable. And so I stopped going out. Like I don't drink or anything like that. But I started finding more meaningful connections with people and connecting with them as far as their dreams, their goals, their aspirations. And I started doing a lot of things. And like you said, you mentioned Blake before, like title boxing was like really what for myself is like a fitness influencer, kind of jumped off everything. Like there was a girl, Meg Riley, who worked there, worked the front desk, and she started doing photography. She started taking pictures of people boxing at the class, and title boxing is so community based, right?
Yeah.
And people started to want to go to class so that they could get pictures of them taken working out, and we'd post it. And like you could go talk to Blake and Jenny. Like it was a thing to be there on a Tuesday night, a Thursday night, a Saturday morning, and like have someone taking pictures of you, and then they would have the pictures uploaded like later that day. And it was like what
Wow.
title boxing became known for, and it is
Yeah.
strong community builder. And then when I started being in pictures of title boxing, I started getting hit up by like active body work, other gyms around Sacramento. I started working with companies like 10,000. I'm wearing their shirts and their shorts right now. Cuts
Great
clothing. I
product.
started to grow that way, right? So I would like to say it was like happenstance that I kind of like sort of grow my brand in the fitness space. But really, it just kind of became the things that I did like to do became popular, right? Like I love to have a kick-ass workout, and then I love to I love to do that within community-based things. I play team sports, like there are no solo or individual sports that I play. And so the camaraderie that comes with that, I was able to take my past life of football and take it to like the everyday, like weekend warrior, just like even via a workout, and that's what I've kind of done now in the football and the softball space is um, be around. So now as I've gotten like older, I've stepped out of things a lot more. Like they're still at the drop of a hat. Like if you ever hit me up to do anything, Josh, I'd have to ask my fiance, but I'd do it in a second, right? Like
I
Kimberly
appreciate
texts
that.
me and she's like, "Hey, I'm launching a brand. Like, can you come do it? Can you do a photo shoot?" I was like, "Yes, no questions asked. Like, let's do it." Kimberly had somebody else that hit her up for a thing called Paddle Smash. It's like a basically a pickleball and smash ball together.
Sure.
And she's like, "Hey, they need like a person to do it. Like, can you do it?" Like, I always want to be available to people. I always want to still be a person that's like, it kind of helps because I understand the business side of it too, right? Like, I understand, like, because I have my agency, like, it helps, like, oh, Cody knows, like, all right, we need to draw people to an X, Y, and Z event. I like to be a resource in that capacity. But at the same time, I'm probably not as in the weeds of everything as I used to be. I'm old now. I'm
Yeah.
old.
Well, I'm curious, man, because like you had mentioned, you have a baby, a little one on the way coming up here,
Mm-hmm.
which is very exciting for you guys, and that's obviously going to impact a lot. It changes, everything.
Of
And I
course.
have I have two young kids myself, and so everything you just said, like, have you thought through? I mean, you can never fully prepare for it when you have kids, but like, have you thought through how much that's going to change and be affected? Or, but you see, here's the thing, though. I'm going to kind of combine a couple of questions. One of the questions I had for you, obviously, you and I connected on sports podcasts initially. I know you're competitive. Anybody who watches your social media or knows you knows you're competitive, and it's pretty clear that the competitiveness that you learned and gained and understood through your lifetime of sports has translated to every other area of life. And I know for myself, when I became a dad, that competitiveness kicked in because, okay, if I want to still pursue the things that I'm passionate about, it will never come at the cost of my family, but I still want to be able
Right.
to do it. So how do I make these two things work and not let either one suffer? So have you thought through? I mean, especially as a business owner, I imagine you thought through all these things. But like, how do you
Oh,
anticipate your life and your schedule and all those things changing once you have the new baby?
there's got to be a better balance. So like my fiance right now, like the best partner ever, right? Like she early on when we started dating, we've known each other since we were 13. So she watched me play high school sports,
Wow,
and then she knows about like my journey through collegiate sports and everything as well too. So like she's been dialed in from that. Like she knows who Cody is, right?
sure,
She's been going to my 12-hour long day softball tournaments, But so when I talk about having a good partner, like um, she doesn't just like let me do these things. She encourages it and enjoys it because she's like, this is what brings out some of the best parts of you, right? And she told me that like early on. She's like, I love watching you compete and the way that you like I'm playing like co-ed softball sometimes too. And she's like, the way that you interact, like uplift up some of these girls, like whereas I could just easily be like, you're not as fast, you're not this, you're not that, right? Like she's like, no, like you guys have like true camaraderie. Like I love the way that you guys interact and everything. She told me that a long time ago, and I was like, you know what, like I'm gonna marry this girl,
there you go.
Um, she knows me, she sees me. But it this last year, especially because like my busy seasons are like during summer.
Sure,
So like the last like let's say like 4 months, I've dialed back a ton. I could play in a softball tournament or football tournament every weekend. I already play in Tuesday, Thursday like league night softball, and then Friday, Sunday league football. But like I played in a flag football tournament in San Antonio, then one in Vegas. I got asked to play in one in Nashville, but we're having our baby shower.
jeez, yeah,
And I'm being sponsored by it, by like, Optimum Nutrition to do it, right? One in San Diego, but it's like a month after our due date. So, uh, and then there's ones in the future too. And then there's like a bunch of other commitments that I have to my future wife and my family that I'm not going to be able to play in every single game. Like if I want, like if my body will allow me, I'd play every day. I used to
sure,
play, I used to play like 5 days a week. And then on weekends, I'd play like 7 games on softball. My body was just beat to shit all the time.
It's that
But
competitiveness. You can't get rid of it.
right, but there's always got to be compromise, and I see that, and I don't, and I'm not okay with that. I prefer that because I always want to be there for. Right now, it's my partner. Eventually, it'll be my son. When you see how relieved your partner is when you're just there for them, especially during this time of being pregnant, right? I selfishly get something back from that. When I have a son who will be end of August, early September, like forget about it. Like I'm gonna want to see him grow and thrive, and so like I'm gonna want to spend my time pouring into him. So will it at first like do I want to go play? I got hit up by Jose Canseco's manager, something or other, to go to Vegas the 29th of this month to play in a softball tournament. I said no because Jack, my buddy Chef Cuso, is getting married,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
There's always going to be things that you have to do in life, and there's always going to be sports aren't going anywhere, you know? As long as you there's a window, right? I always tell my fiance like I was like, how much longer could I play at like this level? I'm 33 now. I always say like maybe like 36, realistically maybe 35, and then like so I'll be like fast and strong to like 35, and then like from 35 to like 40 I'll be like fast for an old guy, you know, like but once I'm just like not fast for even an old guy, then I'll hang it up.
I
But I
gotcha.
did say I do want to be able to be my son in whatever sport, if he chooses to play a sport, he plays up until he's in high school. So I got like until I'm like 50, basically, I got to stay in shape.
That's man. I love that, and that's a great question. Because before this, I don't think I realized you were having a son. So you are going to get to that point, which is very different with you. Because like I said, again, if anybody's just listening to this and not watching it or has never seen Cody, he is a big man. So this idea, because there's always that thing between fathers and sons, right? Where you get
Right.
to that point where the son's like, I want to beat you. I want to fight you. I want to wrestle with you. I'm going to win at some point. And there's the dad strength thing. The dad strength thing for you is a little different because your starting point is a little higher than most. And then if that you put that on top of that, it's gonna be a real handful for your son. Unless he's also a physical
Yeah.
freak, then it will be just a this like battle of the titans. But are you looking forward to those
Who
days when you can get
knows?
real competitive?
I am, and so I was um I was raised up to like I was like 8 years old, just basically by my mom. I
Sure.
haven't seen my birth dad since I was 5 years old. But my stepdad, love him to death. He's been the best father figure I could ever ask for. Biggest nerd ever. If I threw a football at my stepdad, it'd break his nose like the Brady Bunch. You know, like love him to death, right? He is
Yeah.
my dad. Um, but so I never really had that relationship with a male figure in my life, and so it'll be interesting to see like how do I was just at my buddy's house yesterday, and he's got a son and a daughter, and 5 and 3, and long story short, they started like arguing, and both of them are crying, and like I'm consoling his son, and I'm like, man, I'm a little soft, so like I don't even know if I'm gonna have that in me to like kind of like dominate or wrestle my son or whatever, or like not let him win. You know, I want to like uplift him, but at the same time, like need a little tough love. So who knows? Who knows? When he is of age, middle
Yeah.
school, probably like high school, I'm gonna try to strike him out. I will
It's
make
go
sure he doesn't
time.
catch the ball on me.
Yeah.
Yeah, those sort of things. It's good to go. But when he's a kid, you know, I'll let him get a couple.
That's awesome. Well, it's actually fitting. Unfortunately, this episode is going to come out excuse me, right after Father's Day, but I do remember a little bit of your relationship with your dad, or I guess lack of relationship with your biological dad from previous
Right.
podcasts. And it is interesting. Like, the cool thing is like for me, I grew up with my dad. He's a Japanese man. He's very stoic, doesn't express much, but the one area that we've always connected was sports. And so,
Okay.
him coaching, him showing up for those things, even though he didn't say a ton, you always knew it was like, okay, this is his way of showing love and affection. And so, it's going to be really cool for you, man, to kind of go through that. I'm sure, it will probably be a very emotional thing at certain points, but like the fact that you get a chance to do that and to be there for your son in that way is pretty cool. It's a special thing. I'm sure, man, I can't even imagine. I know when my first daughter was born, just the flood of emotions that came through me, and I turned into like a big baby, man. Like at the drop of a hat, I see a commercial, I see a movie, my daughter says
Uh,
like, "I love you, daddy." I'm just like, the waterworks are coming. So I can't even imagine the amount of emotional just flood that is coming your way with this new baby boy.
of course, yeah, it's gonna happen. I am um, objectively soft when it comes to like kids. My mom raised me like a baby. She still babies me. She'll call me right now and call me her baby. So we'll
Yeah.
see what happens. You just there's no what right or wrong way to parent. You just want to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
That's the main thing, man. And that's what it's, yeah. And the cool thing, man, and I know it's about you. And I remember talking to my buddy Trav Cole, who was just on the podcast, and then Blake Kidwell. I had both of them
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
for an episode a couple years ago for Father's Day, actually. And I told him, man, like there's nothing that bothers me more than seeing like a lazy dad, like at a playground, that is so wrapped up in something else, that's not paying attention to their kids, or is not willing to get out there and just enjoy life. Because man, it goes by so fast. And it's like, man, you're going to have so many regrets in this moment. And like, I can see it playing out in front of me. It's like, you just want to grab him and say, "Hey dude, like you got to get this together, because you're going to miss out on something really special if you don't put the time in." So I can see you being the dude that's going to be running around like a wild man with your kids.
Yeah, and it is interesting that you bring that up because being present is something that I've really only developed over the last couple of years.
Sure.
Trying to grow multiple companies and make sure that I was at this gym and this event and this brand partnership and like, oh my gosh, I have to be relevant.
Sure.
Being relevant, um, being relevant to like the outside and the social media world can oftentimes strip you of being present in your immediate world.
Yeah.
And I was so focused on like brand building and all this kind of stuff that like I would oftentimes not be present with those that I was with in the current time, right? And so like um, that is still something that I have to focus on, like as I become a dad, right? Like the phone, like I don't need to answer the texts and the calls from everybody, and I don't need to be so available to people that um, aren't my priority, right? Well, you never want to be mean to rude to anybody, but it's like just like you're saying, like we're doing this podcast now, but it's like you got to go sub in for your wife, because like you got to be a partner. You got to be. They say you have to tend to your own garden before you can worry about the world's problems. So it's like
Right.
that's something that I vehemently agree with, and that is just that you really have to be present with those that you're with, um, regardless if it's even acquaintances in this moment. Like if you make a commitment to like go on a podcast, put your phone on do not disturb. Like
Sure.
don't have other stuff popping up because people remember how you are in that moment with them.
100%, man. We could drop the mic right there, but I have a few more questions for you before we get you out of here.
Of course.
Make a hard right turn. We've been these are a little bit more serious things we've been talking about, but if we're going to make a hard left here, one of the things that is big on our podcast, we've done quite a few episodes, Deb and I, talking about pet peeves. What is a big pet peeve for you? Because I feel like I get the sense that you've got a good one.
Oh,
What's a pet peeve for you, man?
biggest pet peeve, name dropping. That is like a big, like,
Okay.
I am so big on like people are just people, right?
Sure.
Like,
Sure.
don't don't call people by their Instagram handles. That's weird. It's super weird. That immediately shows me like you're not like actually connected with that person. But
Sure.
like, don't say like I did this with this person just for social prowess and status, right? You could say like, yeah, like me and my buddy were hanging out with whoever, and we all did this, and they're a super cool dude. But if you're like try to one up people, or it's just something that's irked me since I was like younger. It's just because like not just because, but one of the reasons is like people ask me like who's my favorite football team,
Yeah.
um, because I love football, but I never have an answer. Like I don't have a one team because like I don't idolize any one team per se. Like I
Sure.
am fans of good football, right? Like I can give you particular teams like the 2011 Niners. Like that team kicked
Sure.
ass. They didn't give up a rushing touchdown until week 10. Like that's crazy, right? Like I can
Yeah.
appreciate the way that the Dolphins played offense last year, but like they're not like whatever. So then also it
Sure.
was like after I got done playing football, a couple of my buddies were playing in the pros. Then it's like, well, I'm not gonna be a Chargers fan because one of my buddies I played alongside with and went to war with the starting middle linebacker for the Broncos. Like that's weird, right?
Yeah.
So it's like
Yeah.
stuff like that. So yeah, name dropping for sure, number one. Um, if I had another one, it would be just short texting. Like I think if anybody texts me K or like
Someone
that
just brought that up the other
that
day.
just bothers me. Yeah, if somebody texts K or thumbs up something, that's
Yeah.
just I see the purpose, but it's just weird.
Well, it depends on I think the context there matters, right? Because
Correct.
in some
Yeah.
sense in some situations K means cool, we're good. Other situations it's passive aggressive. And that's when it starts
Right.
getting annoying or I've said it before, my brother's going to give me a hard time cuz he does this every once in a while. But the people who do the dot dot dot, it's fine sometimes. Other times it's like you're being passive
Oh,
aggressive and I know that. And that's going to drive me nuts.
my mother-in-law does it, not being passive aggressive. She does like four dots in an ellipses. I'm like, first of all, that's not even grammatically correct.
Oh, she
Let's
drops a
start
fourth one.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, or two, um, for like dramatic like pause. But
Sure.
on that note, people that text too frequently and won't have like a conversation face to face, right? Like, I will never text like paragraphs or like long arguments or anything like that. Like, so much can be taken out of context, and that's the one of the worst forms of communication, right? And so, like, that is a pet peeve if somebody is not willing to have a face to face. Like I will FaceTime someone because even just like a phone call could be taken out of context if you can't get in person. So yeah, name dropping. Excuse me. And then number two, people that are text battlers, keyboard warriors. Oh, I won't do it. I just won't reply.
Yeah, that makes sense. No, that's smart. No, the name dropping thing is tough too. I again going back to the character combine days, I was talking to this guy and explaining the event that was coming up, and I was telling him the guest speakers that we had coming in, and it was guys like David Goggins and some of these really big name speakers, and he's like, oh, cool, cool, cool. He's like, yeah, I did an event and we had Michael Jordan. Like what? And so I'm like,
Right.
okay, this guy he's clearly lying, and I don't know why you had to do that. And then later he got into some legal trouble, so it all made sense. He was just a pathological liar. But it was one of those things.
Yeah,
I'm like,
that's
okay,
tough.
this conversation's over. I'm not gonna like these people are actually coming to this event and you're making stuff up. But yeah, the name dropping thing is crazy. But it's a weird thing. Like it definitely is a confidence thing, right? Or a lack of confidence. Like you feel a need to
Correct.
bring someone else's name in this to up yourself when it's like,
I was that young guy who lacked confidence, so I tried to attach myself or be like I had to be at the opening of this bar or this restaurant. Like I had to be like shown on this person's Instagram and like, oh, like this and that. Like so I can spot it. And so like when I see it, I'm like, I know like like if your name drop like there's something like you said, lack of confidence going on there because I was like, I was that, right? Like
sure.
now it's like I don't want to meet anybody. But
Right.
but people are still cool. Like
Yeah.
that's kind of the vibe that I'm on. I don't know. Maybe I'm just
Yeah.
old.
No, I gotcha. So, hey man, before we get out of here, I do want to, in my notes here, I do definitely want to talk to you and kind of go full circle back to where we started with the softball thing. I feel like softball specifically, because this happens in football too, the stuff you post about your football leagues, but the softball thing is fascinating to me because one, you're mic'd up while you play, which is an interesting thing to begin with. And then two, you have someone there filming you, which I think it's our guy, Josh, right?
Josh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you've a lot of your clips that you've been posting recently has basically been a comment from someone who's hating on you, and then the visual proof of the exact opposite of what they said. So tell me, like, how did this whole thing start? Like, where did this idea of filming yourself and being mic'd up? Because for the longest time, I would see these videos, and just in my brain, it never it never really I never connected dots. I'm like first of all, I see
Yeah.
this fuzzy thing on his head. I'm like, I don't know what that is. And it's like it didn't connect that. Like, oh, I can hear him. It's a mic. Like I just didn't even put those two things together. So shout out to Josh for putting that together because it fooled me. I'm like, I thought it was the camera or something. But like, how did that whole thing come about? Why did you think of it? Why have you been doing it? I mean, obviously you mentioned before it's a great social media content because people, whether they love it or hate it, they want to comment. But like, how did this whole
Yeah.
thing come to be?
So I really started getting into like playing softball tournaments last year.
Sure.
That's, I guess you would say, when I started taking it more seriously. Like I've been playing for a few years now, just like on league stuff, which the competition's not as good.
Sure.
Um, and then football the same. Like football's just kind of been like I just play like league stuff. And so over the last year, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna like go all into this, and I'm gonna start recording some games because I would say objectively, I'm like, we do some pretty cool stuff athletically. You know, like if you appreciate baseball or softball, or even like football, I would say, and I sound stupid, but like objectively, like we do some cool shit. You know, like whether it be
I
highlight
agree.
plays or whatever it is, like there's a lot of stuff. And I'm working with Josh. The Josh misses too, and we're still figuring out. Like we used to have a wide angle lens, and now we have like a tight lens, and like I would like to have a drone shot of all 11, you know, or all 14 of
Pretty
like
cool.
football and stuff. But there's actually this guy on TikTok that I saw that wears a 360 camera on his hat, and he gives you point of view from a shortstop, and he's just playing shortstop, and he's fielding balls, he's throwing people out. He's actually really good.
That's
But
pretty cool.
so it actually wasn't Josh at first. It was my buddy Ricky. I was like, Ricky, um, I'm an optimum nutrition athlete, and so I was like, a lot of people just see me working out, but like working out is just like that's just that's just business, you know. Like I just
Sure.
work out because it's part of what I need to do, you know. But what I have fun doing are these sports. And so I was like, Ricky, come out and shoot a game. And so Ricky came out, shot a game. We were like, let's do like a mic'd up thing because it allows you to connect with people more. So initially, Ricky and I'm not, like I said, I'm very locked in. Like that's why I like some of the stuff. Like I don't talk. I never talk shit to people. That's not my thing. I'm very good when it comes to sportsmanship.
Sure.
Uh, so like especially in softball, like you're kind of just out there standing by yourself. Like, what are you talking about? So Ricky used to call me. I used to have a headphone in, and he would ask me questions, and I would talk back into the mic, and he'd be like, "What do you think about this guy's uniform?" or whatever the hell it was, right?
Yeah.
And it kind of started like that, and so we did a couple of games, and I started posting them, and they started going crazy, like 500,000 views, 600,000 views, 800,000 views, and I was like, okay, there's something here. Like the marketing side of me, the influencer side of me is like, all right, there's something here. People actually care about this, and
Sure.
everybody's so it's so polarizing. People are like, play baseball, you softball's for girls and whatever, or like,
Sure.
you guys couldn't hold it. You guys don't understand what it's like to play the hot corner at third, and like people are trying to defend it and like whatever.
Yeah.
And so I did it for a couple months, and my Instagram was just taken off, and then I got hurt. I tore my groin last September, and it was like it sucked, man, for just so many reasons. But like it set me
Sure.
back a ton.
Sure.
Tore it very very badly. I had to go to the emergency room and everything. Got an MRI, and
Jeez.
just it was bad. So I took some time off, and then I told Josh, I was like, hey, like, do you want to get back into filming? And this is kind of what we're doing. And so I started doing softball again, and like I was like posting like my normal stuff throughout the time, and it had some thousands of views. It wasn't anything. It was bad. And then immediately I started posting softball again, and it just takes off, and people just start going crazy again. And I was like, all right, cool. I kind of want to do this with football too, because football is like my first love. Football is a little bit harder to film, right? Because there's more moving parts.
Sure.
So we're trying to get that down, you know. But like I tell people, is every game is filmed. Not except like not tonight. Josh isn't coming tonight, so a
Sure.
lot of games are filmed. We're probably doing like 2 a week, and I'm posting stuff every single day. So in my credit, I'm doing enough cool shit to post every single day. Like I am
It's pretty good.
hustling out there. I'm trying to catch every single ball, you know, like doing all the things. Um, but as far as like commenting back to people and like now kind of refuting things. Initially, when I started doing it, people would be like, "This guy's slow," like whatever, and I was like, "Wait, no, I'm not slow. You guys can't think that I'm slow." And all this guy doesn't know how to hit. There's
Yeah.
one guy that says like, "This guy can't hit, so he's got to run for people." I was like, "I got to post a home run," you know. So stuff like
Yeah.
that. So like the replying to comments at first and like using a comment to like repost or whatever
Yeah.
was like to kind of substantiate that like I was the opposite of whatever they were claiming.
Sure.
But now it's just a good way to get people riled up again. And like that's kind of all it is. Like I think what was the last one was like, why does this guy wear pants? Like tight
Right.
girl pants, and then I had like a sliding catch that I posted last night, and I was
Yeah.
like, this is why I wear pants. And now half the people in the comments are like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. He wouldn't even have caught the ball. And then the guy that originally posted the comment, he's like, your pants are still too tight. You suck. So it's like, it's a fun thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, um, it's all for fun, you know?
Sure.
I also do like having the clips because, like, I mean, you asked my fiance, like, as soon as the game's over, like, and I upload all the clips, like, I go through each thing like
Yeah.
game film. Like in my flag football, I send everybody the game clips, and I'm like, hey, this is what happened on this play. This is what we should have done, you know, like, because that's what I come from, like watching hours and hours and hours of football film.
That's
Um,
another level.
but then it's also fun, you know, watching yourself do cool shit and watching
I
yourself
agree.
mess up, you know.
Right.
I have, which I'm sitting on. One of my like highly like most commented, there's like 2,500 comments on it. Is a video of me making an error at third,
Okay.
and I don't play third. I play outfield because I'm not a good ground ball fielder.
I'm
But
with you.
people go crazy on that one. People love to hate me for that, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I used anytime I need inspiration, I go to the comments in there, and that's where I find the comments to reply to. Because like somebody has said everything under the sun in that post, that
Sure.
one post specifically. There's a video that I'm sitting on in my drafts of me dropping like one of the easiest interceptions you'll ever see, and I'm sure that one will get copious amounts of hate. But what I need to do is I
Sure.
need to post a bunch of good clips before, so people don't go like, "This guy sucks." So
Buffer it a
anyway,
little bit. Yeah.
maybe it's my ego a little bit. Oh, I won't lie, but
That's funny.
it's super fun, man. I urge anybody that does something like Instagram and social media, like yes, they are business tools, but like if you can find something that is like fun and you enjoy doing, just post that stuff, right? And like
Sure.
if it stirs up controversy, then so be it. If it's something that you're passionate about, like just put that out there because it's easy to do. Like I, regardless, like far before I was posting any of these clips, I was still playing in 5 to 7 football and softball games a week, and I
Right.
will be long after, right?
Yeah.
So it's like do it while you can, and whatever comes of it will.
There you go. I think that's great advice. And I know we're right up against the time. I just want to mention this one thing. One of the videos that I enjoyed. It's been a while since you posted this, and if I remember correctly, you were playing in a game. You were hitting, and crushed the ball, and you pimped it a little bit, and then you realized, oh, it didn't go out, and then you turned on the jets and you flew. And for me, it's like it was a funny moment seeing it. You realize what had happened, but then it also shows off the insane amount of speed you have, and it still turned into like a stand-up triple. I'm like, geez, like I wish I had that much speed. It will never happen. I'd have to be in a car to go that fast. But it was a
Dude, see,
fun, mix of like, hey, it's impressive athletically, but it's also like the realization that, hey, I actually didn't hit a home run. I got to get moving was funny as well.
yeah, see, it's all fun. Like softball, I do want to play baseball this year. So if anybody's watching this and they're part of like I think it's
Really?
MSBL, like I want to be playing baseball this season before my son comes. I'm already back in the cages. I want to get out there. I've only played one hard pitch baseball game since after I played baseball in high school, and then I haven't played since. But when I was in banking, still a guy that I worked with was like, "Dude, you want to come play?" I was still wearing glasses at the time before I got LASIK, and
Okay.
I went 1 for 3. I have some redemption to do, but we played against this kid that was a lefty and was still throwing like 87. And I
Yeah.
was like, dude, I hadn't seen live pitching in like 7 years at the time. So anyway,
Yeah.
I do want to get out there and play baseball again. That's like what I feel like would be more at the competitive level that I'd like. Because still in softball, like I will go out and I'll run everywhere in the outfield and whatever, and take extra bags and do all the things. While softball is hard, right?
Sure.
There's a competitive nature to it. I still don't want to. I want to be playing a faster game, not where like somebody will hit it and they'll like walk to first. You know, like
Sure.
I want like to test people's arms. I want people to test my arm, stuff like that. So that's something that's a goal of mine this year is to get back into baseball. But
That'll be
softball
fun.
is fun because it's like softball's fun because it's like you could just sky one, should be a routine out. Like it's so high up above the lights, and then it comes down, and now you're running around, and then they throw it to second, they overthrow second base, and it's just like this
Yeah.
kind of sloppy, fun game.
Yeah.
Um, So yeah, you got to put it out there though if you also want opportunities. Like I've had, like I said, the Las Vegas tournament come up
Sure.
at the end of this month, and then there's one in December. So if anybody's like an athlete, put your stuff out on social media, and maybe somebody will DM you, like happened to me.
Yeah, for sure. No, I'm excited to follow the baseball journey, man. I played in high school. I never played college or anything like that. But then for a few years after high school, I did play in NABA, some of those men's adult leagues. And it is fun, man. It's fun. I'll be honest, you get a weird mix of people out there. Cause you still get some guys that can play. In fact, there was one game I ended up missing this game because I was out of town, but I heard there was a guy that played in the minors for the Cubs and was still throwing like 93. Like, oh, that's a different animal. The guy was like 45 and still pumping 93. But and then you still have some of the weekend warriors that are, you know, icing their knees after every inning. But that'll be fun, man. I'm excited to follow kind of your journey through that because I love baseball. I love baseball my entire life, and so I would tell my wife I would love to get back out there one day and do it, but it might be a minute before I get out there again.
You and I'll join a team. Maybe we're both free agents.
Maybe they're going to see a very big physical gap between the two of us. Like, we'll take that guy right there, but maybe the other guy can keep score or do something like that.
Oh, get out of here. Japanese baseball players are in, man. Japanese baseball players, it is your time to shine right now.
You know what's funny about that? There was this Nisei league that when I was playing high school and I was getting ready to graduate and I was looking at different options. My dad's like, "Hey, there's this league that's been around for years," and he's like, "It's all Japanese players, and they play on Saturdays." And he's like, "It's pretty competitive." He's like, "It's definitely geared more towards, you know, like a Japanese style play, you know, faster, you know, small ball." He's like, not a crazy amount of power. He's like, "You might be one of the guys that throws," and I didn't throw that hard. He's like, "But you might throw hard, you know, pretty hard in that league." And I'm like, "All right." He's like, "Let's go check it out one Saturday." I'm like, "Yeah, let's go do it." So we went out first inning, first at bat. This guy crushes one over center field. I'm like, "This is not at all what you said. These guys have massive power." And they're throwing gas. I'm like, they're way faster than me. I can't hang with these guys. He's like, "Well, things have changed. It's a little different game now." But yeah, I agree, man. I'm nothing like Otani, but I still love the game. So I still want to get out there at some point and play. But
of course.
Anyways, man. So like I said, I want to be respectful of your time because I know you're busy. Where can people follow you? Social media, websites, businesses, Cuso knives, all those things.
Yeah, so I try to keep my social handles the same across all of them. It's just the Cody Allen. Website's thecodyallen.com. For sure need to update that. Businesses, digitalcartelmedia.com. We're a marketing agency. We primarily work with service-based clients, like service-based industries, paid advertising, web development, SEO, email, and social and such. And then Cuso Cuts. Cuso Cuts, if you guys like food, which everybody listening should at least eat it, seasonings, so. Chef knives, sauces, all the things, man. Check out everything that we have coming out.
Yeah, definitely would encourage you guys to follow Cody. He's a great follow, and so is Cuso Knives. It's especially if you do enjoy food and you don't just eat it to survive, like Cody said. It is a fun follow, and it will give you some inspiration to try some different things on the grill. Especially as we're entering the summer season, it would be a good time to follow that and grab some of those seasonings for sure. Cody, man, it's always a pleasure talking to you. I probably won't chat with you until after your son's born and you know, you're married and all those different things. So congrats on all that stuff, man. Good luck with everything. And man, I'm excited to see this next part of your journey.
Thanks, man. You as well.
Absolutely, man. Take care. Thanks for watching the show. If you enjoyed that episode, make sure you like it, share it, and hit the subscribe button to get a new episode every week. We'll see you next time on the Connectable podcast.